I've seen a lot of inefficient support play recently, mostly stemming from players not really thinking enough about that division of labour that support duos have, and so not really adjusting their play to be the most effective. Looking at the supports, they're obviously all great at different things. Zen, for example, has good range, great damage potential, but his heals are a bit slow and only single target. The main strength of Harmony Orb is, of course, range and consistency of the heals. Now if we look at Baptiste, his range isn't quite as good as Zen, his damage potential also not so good, but he does have good heals per second in an AoE, as well as Sunburst heal with that mouse 2 shift mouse 2 combo. When I talk about range, by the way, I mean all abilities. Baptiste can hit heals, damage and frisbees at long range, but it's much easier and more effective for him to use those in that sort of close to mid range. So looking at both of those heroes, we can see how they excel at different things. Now imagine if you had both of them. Let's say you're playing the Zen. You can weigh up the things that you're good at and Baptiste might not be, as well as obviously the other way around, and use that to figure out how to adjust your play so that as a duo, you're doing as much as possible and not sort of overlapping in effectiveness. You might think, hey, I'm good at range and Baptiste isn't, so I'm going to focus on supporting teammates outside of the main group. Maybe that's a Tracer on a flank, a Sniper on high ground, and if you've got a Pharah, you're pretty much your only chance of getting heals. Baptiste, on the other hand, might think, hey, Zen isn't great at healing the main group, Harmony, obviously single target, low HPS, but I'm the opposite, I have AoE heals and high HPS, so I'm much better at supporting the sort of main cluster. What this means is he can, stick with the tank line and get a lot of value out of his kit, while Zen does the other things. This is much better than the situation we've probably all seen, where your Zen walks out of spawn, chucks orb on the Orisa at the start of the game, and just leaves it there. Another thing to remember is how support duos peel for each other. Zen might be used to getting peel from Mercy or Lucio, but in this duo, Baptiste doesn't really have an effective self-heal outside of that 15-second cooldown, so Zen has to be really aware of when Baptiste needs those heals or he's going to really limit the effectiveness of the duo. Understanding this division of labour is really important for support players, especially in a ladder environment where we see some slightly wacky support duos. A good rule of thumb is that there's usually one support who focuses on healing the main cluster of your team, and the other one is going to focus on the stuff sort of outside of that group. Although this might seem quite simple once you've thought about it, it's something that I see so many support players forgetting mid-game, and if you can just remember it, it will really help you. I will go into a lot more depth on this in a bigger video about comp matchups. To leave it with a real game example, here's a situation on Volskaya A, where the enemy team in green is holding the mega room, and my team in red is pushing this close side. Now usually as Ana, I might want to go with them so I can keep my tanks healthy, but because we have a Moira who's very effective at doing that, I have a chance to sort of split from my team and focus on using my range to help Tracer, as well as opening up an alternate angle that makes it easier for me to get utility value, something that's much more effective than me overlapping my heal potential with our Moira. And although I don't actually play this that great, I miss a bunch of shots and don't get anything from the sleep, we can see how remembering these ideas and adjusting my playstyle a bit did pay off and gave my team an easier time taking the point.